A couple days ago, I was at Walmart looking for a gift card for Indigo for my friend's birthday, but I couldn't find one, so I texted my mom asking her to bring me to Indigo so I could both grab a gift card for my friend and also see if by any chance they could have Tiger Rock early, because some places have it early, and some of my friends like Shadow Libra have even gotten it early, so it was worth a shot. Not actually expecting to find the book and expecting to only get the gift card, I was pleasantly surprised when I found Tiger Rock in the store. I instantly grabbed the book and took a picture of it, posting it on my community tab and in a Discord group chat I'm in, very excitedly. So I actually do have Tiger Rock in my hands early, and all I am thinking is, thank God Walmart didn't have those Indigo gift cards. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a summary on the first story in the book, and as always, I'll of course be doing summaries on the second and third stories in the book, as well as the epilogue. So stay tuned for that, and just enjoy this one. The second story is titled The Monty Within, and the third story is called Bleeding Heart, so get excited, but in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy. The story begins with 11-year-old Kai and his two friends Todd and Asher, a group they called the Timeless Trio, entering Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. Kai was walking in slowly and one of his friends tugged his arm to move faster. The Pizzaplex was essentially the only thing in their pretty small town that was actually cool, and they were really excited when it opened. However, now that they'd been to it a bunch, it wasn't really new to them anymore. They'd basically seen everything, ridden everything, heard everything. They knew the Pizzaplex inside and out. Despite this, they always loved coming to the Pizzaplex, and Kai sometimes even thinks about it as he tries to sleep. The Pizzaplex helped mask the negatives of life. As Kai pondered the Pizzaplex, Todd continued rushing him, which Kai didn't really understand since Todd was the kind of person to live in the present. Kai assured Todd that the Storyteller's tree wasn't going anywhere. The Storyteller was a cutting-edge program that fed storylines to the animatronics, and it was housed in a baobab tree. They all wondered what kind of effort must have gone into making the Storyteller's program. Little did they know it's just a stolen program that witnessed murder. They hadn't been to the Pizzaplex in a few weeks, so they'd been very excited to actually see the tree. However, when they made it to the tree, they found that it was enveloped in plastic with a rope barrier around its base. A Pizzaplex employee explained that it had been up for only about 3 weeks, but that there was some kind of glitch that was resulting in the tree getting taken down. Asher and Todd ended up bickering a bit about the tree and the concept of AI replacing writers, kinda ironic considering the writer's strike going on right now, and then Kai says that because the tree is closed, they should head over and check out the VR booth. The others agree, and they start heading over, and a couple random and unimportant things happen along the way, like Todd suggesting pizza and the others saying nah, and discussing the rainbow color of the Storyteller's tree branches, and also passing by areas like the roleplay area. Todd also mentions a dream that he had about Moss invading his room rapidly and trying to eat him, and Kai mentions that he's been trying lucid dreaming, and he trained himself to wake up by simply saying, "wake myself," suggesting Todd try it if he has a scary dream. As they made it to the VR booth, they find that there's actually a special experience just for today, where you can see the Pizzaplex in 10 years in the future. It's also interesting to note that the VR booth and the AR booth are the same thing. At the same time though, it doesn't seem to be the same one as in under construction, as Cleithrophobia shows that attraction exploded, but at the same time it may just be that the attraction wasn't shut down after that, but just that they finished it and it became the booth that we see in this story as well as Drowning. Anyway, moving on. We cut to Kai inside the headset and seeing the Pizzaplex in the future. He noted how cool looking the effect was. His clothes looked to be made of fabric that had a lenticular effect, which is basically when the material has very small ridges in them, so that if you look at them from a different angle, you see a different image. Like those 3D pictures that you would see when you were a kid. I believe I have a Spider-Man 2 one somewhere in my room, and I'm sure many of you guys have one or have seen one before. Anyway, Kai finds that the roller coaster that used to be in the Pizzaplex is now replaced with a flying bullet train. The dome that used to top off the Pizzaplex is now replaced with a literal force field that allows air through but is also solid enough for birds to stand on, and Freddy now looks like a real bear and shows Kai around the Pizzaplex, showing Kai around all the familiar attractions that were now upgraded, like Roxy Raceway, Bonnie Bowl, the theater, and also some areas that were new to the future Pizzaplex, like a realistic African safari and Tiger Rock trampoline. Freddy led Kai to the Tiger Rock area to meet the animatronic Tiger Rock itself. Freddy left Kai with Tiger Rock, assuring him that he would be in good hands, and then promptly said goodbye to Kai. Kai talked with Tiger Rock, who actually spoke Hawaiian to him because Kai was from Hawaii and wore Hawaiian shirts, and this impressed Kai. Tiger Rock told Kai that he loved to learn things and that life is all about observing and paying attention to the things to see and hear. Tiger Rock had some flair and swag unlike the other animatronics, and Kai liked him. He then whispered to Kai that he could show him how things worked around here. Tiger Rock seemed a lot more interested in Kai than Freddy was, and Kai liked the attention. Kai agreed to let Tiger Rock show him how things worked around here, so he took his hand. This was the best VR experience Kai had ever had. Tiger Rock took Kai to an area of the Pizzaplex he'd never seen before where there were helper bots, seemingly the staff bots we see in Security Breach moving around the room. Tiger Rock stopped to say hi to one named Henry, interestingly enough, and then Tiger Rock leads Kai to the area all the animatronics use to navigate the Pizzaplex, seeing a slide and a futuristic Bonnie animatronic going down it, and there was also a set of floating stairs. Tiger Rock then mentions that while this slide was fun, there's an even cooler, non-solid slipstream slide for guests that he would take Kai to. On the way there, Kai was questioning why Tiger Rock kept squeezing Kai's arm so painfully. Why would they make the animatronic within a VR booth hurt the player? The more the animatronic grabbed his arm, the more painful it was. As they were in line for the slide, Tiger Rock grabbed his arm again, and Kai felt something in his bicep pop. He had enough and now just wanted to get away from Tiger Rock, ditching all of his manners and shooting past the line and down the slide. However, he found that Tiger Rock was right behind him, heading down too. Kai felt bad that he was trying to leave Tiger Rock because he knew that he didn't have bad intentions, but he was hurting him and he couldn't take it anymore. So his plan was to head to Monty Golf and hide from Tiger Rock within it. He found that the futuristic Monty Golf had new reptile animatronics as obstacles, and they were pretty big, but since they were moving he had to hide himself somewhere else. Inside Monty Golf, he saw an employee and tried to ask for help, but she just brushed past him and told him to have a nice stay here. He decided to just hide behind the moving reptiles, moving along with them, and he kept this up until he saw Tiger Rock searching for him. He knew his time in the VR booth had to be up soon enough. He ended up exiting Monty Golf and saw Tiger Rock was not behind him, but then rounded a corner and Tiger Rock was there, and he grabbed Kai's arms, pain shooting up through his arms just as he heard a ding and found himself back in the VR booth. He immediately pulled off the VR headset and found his arms still hurt, finding a bruise on them. He immediately rushed outside and met his friends, and then he told an employee that there must have been something wrong with the VR experience as an animatronic hurt his arm, showing the bruise. The employee clearly didn't believe him, so he just said never mind and went back to his friends. He told his friends that he just wanted to go home, and they decided to leave and rent a movie. Kai was cool with that as long as there's no tigers in it. Every Saturday night, Kai, his mom, and his dad would sit around the fire pit in their backyard and tell made-up stories about Kai's 5-year-old sister Malia's elephant plushie named Elliot. Today was Kai's turn to tell a story, but he was feeling off today and his story was too similar to what had happened with him and Tiger Rock that day, so he decided to go to bed and ask his mom to fill in for him today, and she was fine with that, albeit a bit concerned, asking if he was okay. He said he was and went up to his room, and normally there was a hummingbird named Barry that would come to his window, to his hummingbird feeder, but Barry was not here today. He looked out his window to see if Barry was around, but he couldn't see Barry anywhere. However, he did spot a white owl. However, the way the light reflected off the owl didn't make sense. It looked like the owl was made of metal, and made like the animatronics in the futuristic Pizzaplex. The owl's eyes were closed, but then it turned towards Kai and opened its eyes. Kai darted backward, hitting his head on the top of the open window, which shut it, but his arm was still through the window and it was trapped. Kai's body was falling back into his room, but his arm stayed in place, causing pain to shoot up through his shoulder, feeling as if his arm was going to get pulled out of its socket. It was at this point that I started thinking that we have a step closer situation here, as at the beginning of the story, Todd was tugging on Kai's arm, and Kai asked if he was trying to take his arm off. That was the very first line of the story, and then after that, Tiger Rock was hurting Kai's arms, and Kai felt like he would tear them off, which is also interesting because the Tiger Rock animatronic housed the Mimic, which in the epilogues does tear off arms. But now, Kai almost lost his arm again. Doesn't exactly seem coincidental, does it? Kai spent a few seconds after freeing his arm making sure that he hadn't done any serious damage to it, and he hadn't, and also trying to regulate his breathing and heartbeat. When he looked back outside the window, the owl was gone. Kai knew this owl wasn't normal because when it opened its eyes, Kai saw that it had one blue eye and one green eye, just like Tiger Rock has. Kai dreamt all night about the owl, and he had to use his wake myself technique 3 times, leading to him having a lack of sleep. Every Sunday, when the weather was nice, Kai's dad would make a scavenger hunt where they would find clues leading to clues which would eventually lead to treasure. Today's first clue was, hey, you don't want to bail on this one, which led them to a farm owned by a guy named Old Man Gruber, who was known for not baling his hay. They decided to head over, but Kai was falling behind as they rode their bikes over, as he was really tired and had Tiger Rock and the owl on his mind. As he rode, he caught sight of a cat, but not a real one. It was a metal cat, just like Tiger Rock and the owl, and just like both of them, it had one green eye and one blue eye, and it turned to watch him. However, as he was so focused on the cat, both of his legs came off the pedals, which hit and hurt his legs, and then his left hand came off the handle. He unintentionally hit the brakes with his right hand, causing the front wheel to lock up, and then that caused the bike to flip over, throwing Kai into the white picket fence in front of a house, his arm getting stuck in the fence and his bike falling on top of him. His friends rushed over to him, and Todd grabbed his right arm and tried to pull him up, but his left arm was still trapped between the fence, and Kai screamed for him to stop, having to wedge his arm out after Asher pulled the bike off him. They asked what happened, and Kai didn't want to explain, so he simply said that it was a cat. This started an argument between Asher and Todd about whether cats or dogs were better. Personally, I'm a dog person, but I love both and honestly would love each of one. Comment down below whether you're a dog or a cat person. Anyway, Kai told Asher and Todd that he was gonna go home, but that they don't have to come with him and can go find the treasure without him. The next day, after English class, the Timeless Trio was walking to go to lunch, going down the escalator that was just in the school, and while the other two were discussing the new assignment, Kai hadn't paid any attention through the whole class as he was thinking about Tiger Rock, the owl, and the cat. As they went down the escalator, Kai noticed a new white clock that had a face. It even had feathery eyebrows. As he looked at the strange clock, it opened its eyes, revealing one blue eye and one green eye. This caused Kai to stumble and fall down the elevator. He was barely aware of what was going on for some time until he could hear yelling, seeing his history teacher above him and trying to help him, and kids were watching. An older kid named Ron called him a klutz. A girl asked how he could have gotten stuck on the stairs. Kai looked back to find that it wasn't an escalator, it really was wooden stairs. They'd always been wooden stairs, so why did he think it was an escalator? His pants had gotten caught in a loose piece of the step, and he fell, that's all. Kai was so on edge, but his teacher brought him to the nurse. Kai didn't know what was going on or when it would stop, but it was greatly concerning. Kai ended up going home early and immediately locked himself in his room, just like I always do when a new Tales from the Pizzaplex book comes out. He opened his door a couple times to let his dad check on him, to let Malia give him her plush toys so that they could look after him, and to get a sandwich from his mom. He lay in bed for the rest of the day playing a bit of video games and making sure that there was no Tiger Rock stuff around. He somehow managed to fall asleep, but he stayed home the next day. He thought about everything that had been happening, thinking the escalator was really weird, and he was thinking that he was confusing reality and a virtual world with each other. He wondered if maybe he was still inside the VR booth, and at this point I was like, is this really just under construction again? Kai thought he had to still be in the VR booth. It would explain why his arms still hurt after Tiger Rock grabbed them, and if he was right, then all he had to do was ride it out because it would be over soon. But then, out of the corner of his eyes, Kai saw all Malia's plushies, their eyes black, and they were all moving. Kai wondered if their eyes were black before, but that didn't matter because their eyes were all directed at Kai. Kai was in disbelief, but he was sure that they couldn't hurt him, right? They were just stuffed animals, but all of them crawled forward and off his dresser towards him. But when they made it towards him, they grabbed his foot, his ankle, his legs, and they would not let go. They were a lot stronger than you would think that plush toys would be. Kai tried his wake myself trick, but it did nothing. Suddenly, his closet opened and Tiger Rock stood inside. Kai screamed for help, but no one was there to help, and Tiger Rock did not move. All 5 plushies were intent on ripping Kai apart, not even letting go when he tried to kick them off. He yelled again to wake himself, and suddenly the pain eased. Kai looked around, and all the plushies were gone. His room was gone too. Normal reality was completely gone. It was just a mess of seemingly random colors, but he could vaguely make out shapes within the colors. Suddenly, he could see Glamrock Freddy in the colors. Then he saw the Pizzaplex, which transformed into its futuristic form. Kai spotting the force field domed roof, and then Tiger Rock appeared overlaid on everything as if he was embracing everything. Kai continued to yell to wake himself, but it wouldn't work. But then, within the mess of colors, he saw an image forming, an image of the glass wall of the VR booth. Kai focused on the wall, sure that it was the way out of whatever realm he was currently in. He pushed forward and towards the wall. It felt as if he was moving sluggishly through mud, but he ignored the things he felt around him and pushed through. When he finally reached the wall, it felt more like squishy plastic than glass, so he began tearing at the plastic. He managed to create a gap big enough so that he could squeeze through. He felt a gel-like sensation slither along his arms, and as he focused his eyes, he saw a young blonde girl holding hands with what looked like her grandfather, as well as a strange-looking doll which had features that seemed wrong, including a bulging eyeball. This, of course, is Astrid, Nexi, and her grandfather from the story Nexi. Although it's unclear why he's seeing them here, I'll briefly discuss that in a second, but after seeing Astrid and the other two, Kai found himself free, outside the VR booth. He was facing a bunch of Pizzaplex employees who were staring at him as if he were an alien. The one he'd earlier asked about the Tiger Rock animatronic stepped forward and asked Kai if he was okay, as he pulled Kai away from the VR booth, where he saw that a small crowd of people were in front of the booth, including Todd and Asher, who stood at the front of the crowd. He was so happy to see them, and they told him that he was trapped in there for 5 hours and people couldn't get him out because the booth had locked up. What Kai had actually did was he simply stepped through the glass door and out of the booth. The door to the booth was made of super strong glass that they didn't know how to break until he just walked out. Glad it was all over, Kai now just wanted to go home. Kai just wanted to get on with his real life and forget all about the future Pizzaplex and Tiger Rock. He wanted to fall into bed when he got home, but he didn't want his parents to know that something was up, so he pushed through the day acting like it was a normal Saturday. He even told Malia his story of the week, and while it didn't really make any sense, he got through it, and he finally managed to get some sleep. Suddenly, Kai jolted awake. He didn't know at first what woke him, but then he heard the sound of an owl hooting. He tried to convince himself that it was a normal owl. He wasn't in the booth anymore, he was at home. But the owl kept hooting, and Kai was now on edge. He tried to get back to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. Dissatisfying himself, he went to his window and found nothing outside but a regular, real owl, which was normal. But then, Tiger Rock appeared from below the window, gripped both of Kai's forearms, and tore both of his arms off. Kai felt the blood trickle down his sides, and Tiger Rock, taking Kai's arms with him, vanished into the night as Kai lost consciousness, and the story just abruptly ends right there. This was a very interesting story that I think was pretty decent. I think that the ending was a little strange, as it's not really explained if he's maybe still trapped in the VR booth or if he's just dreaming, or if somehow Tiger Rock showed up for real and killed him, but something happened for sure. I think he probably still just is in the VR booth, but that seems like kind of repetitive and not that great from a storytelling perspective. I think it's pretty clear that this story works in a very similar way than Nexi does though, which is why Nexi appears in this story. This story takes place shortly after the Storyteller's wire spread the mimic virus throughout the Pizzaplex, which is what happened in Nexi as well. This caused both the Nexi doll and the VR booth to go haywire. Both of them involve tearing off people's limbs, which the mimic does in the epilogues, and it's very clearly shown in this story that Tiger Rock is trying to rip off Kai's arms, probably as a way of finishing the job he was doing under the Pizzaplex, collecting all the limbs that he can. I'm assuming that the Storyteller inserted itself into the VR booth, which is why it's a white tiger in both the Storyteller's tree and the future Pizzaplex, but overall, the story was pretty good. But we'll have to wait and see what's to come in the next story, The Monty Within. But anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to, but I will see you all in the next video. Stay tuned for my upcoming summaries, and have an amazing day. Bye, guys!